Welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
Nice having you. Today, I'm pretty excited about this podcast because it's a really important topic, basically an expert when it comes to women's health. I think a lot of ladies that are looking, and also your coaches, they're probably also excited about this. First question, and that is, you emphasize a lot on being a dancer and also jumping from the dancer into a fitness coach today.
I love that. Thanks so much for having me. Honestly, I think if I could put that into one sentence, which I'm not just going to, I will elaborate. But as you said that, it's really, I have made my mess my message. And I really do believe that this is my purpose. I just feel it in every part of me. And I want to be the change. I want to be the team that she needs or that I needed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, something like dancing where it's such a passion, you know, you love what it is, everything about it. So you will do anything to continue to dance. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the lack of education around women's health, especially professional athletes, especially in things like dancing or sports like dancing, you need to be thin. You need to look a particular way. Mm-hmm. How you got there didn't matter. Mm-hmm. So you go to these professional schools and you go to become a professional athlete, but no one ever teaches you how to be a healthy athlete, right? So, and like I said, it didn't matter how you got to a particular point, whether that be aesthetically or professionally, you just have to get there. Mm-hmm. So I was the most unhealthy athlete for 15 years. Mm. And I ended that career and organically transitioned into the fitness industry as a coach, mm-hmm. still not knowing anything because of the lack or due to the lack of research done on women. Mm-hmm. So as I transitioned into this fitness industry as a coach, wanting to be a coach, still extremely unhealthy, I took the road down the bodybuilding world, which was once again into another controlling sport. Extreme. So I went from one stage to the next, mm-hmm. thinking that I stepped off the stage as a professional dancer and stepped on the stage as a professional athlete. Mm. I was always a professional athlete, and an unhealthy one, unfortunately, in this world of controlling and moving for aesthetic appeal or aesthetic goals. And it was on that journey that I realized there was so much more to sport. And it was how I was in the I want to say Vorbereitung, in the middle of the preparation for bodybuilding, where I realized that I wanted to be part of a community. I wanted to be part of this community that fueled for performance. I wanted to stay on the same line as these other athletes, but I couldn't because I didn't have the energy and I couldn't understand why. Mm-hmm. And then I slowly started to realize, and I was like, if I eat more and if I sleep better, I can catch up. But there was no mirrors around when I was doing this type of functional training. And I didn't matter how I looked as long as I was as fast as them or as strong as them. So this beautiful transition happened. And I do believe that every step I took as a professional dancer and every step I took as a professional bodybuilder was what I needed to do to be where I am today, to be able to be the voice that I want to be and to be the team that she needs. So I believe, I'm so grateful for what I've been through and what I've experienced, because that matters so much more. That matters so much more than anything else, because I know what it feels like.
That's really, I think that's also a really powerful message for women listening today. And also what I see a lot is, and that's, you're basically jumped already into the different topics that I also want to highlight, is the different phases of the menstrual cycle. Mm-hmm. That is a really important topic. I also looked into it. I also learned a lot of things from you and also looking around. I think it's something that is not highlighted enough and is more like a curse, which it isn't. It would be also really interesting if you could highlight those phases of the menstrual cycle.
Absolutely. Well, like what you just said then, a curse. It's a taboo, isn't it? It's like people don't want to talk about it. People don't want to say the word period. People don't want to say, hold a tampon, put a tampon in your hand. It's like to pull it in your hoodie and like go to the bathroom. I do believe that the conversation is becoming louder, and we're really opening that up now, and I love this. You know, I'm speaking at a different event monthly, whether that be with teen athletes or women in high-performing job roles. but they still don't know. The lack of education in 2024 is really high, but I'm excited. So when we talk about the phases, there are different ways to speak about it. The way that I speak about it with my athletes, with the women that I work with, is in 4 phases. I work with a textbook cycle, which is 28 days.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't mean, give or take 2 days. That doesn't mean if you're consistently 30 days or 32 days, it doesn't mean that you're unhealthy or wrong. So I work with 28 days, give or take 2 days. And then we look at phase 1, which is when you menstruate, so when you have your period, first day of when you bleed, to day 7. Again, if you only bleed for 4 days, it's still phase 1 until around day 7. And then we move into phase 2, which I'll elaborate on these phases. I'll just kind of give you a rundown on it. And then phase 2, we look at day 8 to 14. And this is when you will ovulate. If you're a healthy woman and a healthy athlete, then this is the time that a luteinizing hormone from the brain is released, and it pushes up your estrogen, which allows you to ovulate, which is of course fantastic, right? And then what we reap, the benefits we reap from that are huge if you have a natural cycle. After phase 2, estrogen drops off, and we will move into what we call phase 3. This is where you are no longer like a man. That's the best way to put it. So everything else that we know, whether it be training, whether it be supplementation, whether it be how much protein that you need, in the front end of your cycle, in that phase 1 and phase 2, that's when you can really utilize all of that research that was done on men, because that's when we are a little bit more like men. But as we cross over into phase 3, which we call the higher hormone, or this is where you are more like a woman, right? Here we want to look at the feeling of slowing down is what a lot of people kind of say. It can feel like that. You can feel like you get a bit kind of like slower or maybe not as powerful. It's not every day. So that's why tracking is just so important. And then that's around day 15 to 22. And then from like day 23 all the way up until when you bleed is going to be phase 4, around about. If you have a really long cycle, it's the phase 2 that will extend. It doesn't mean phase 4 is extra long just because you've got a long cycle. It means that phase 2 had extended. It's the only phase that we see extending. So you need to have a look back on that and say, okay, what was happening in and around phase 2 to cause an elongation of that phase? A lot of the time you might find you travelled, you've had a lot of stress, maybe you had exams if you're at school, maybe you were competing, maybe you were moving house. Like really have a look at what was happening at work, what was happening in my life during that time to make that extend, which is really magical because the body says, hold off, don't ovulate yet because she's not in a good place. You know, we're not in a safe space. So I think that's so fantastic that you have this inner metric. We've got our own data to work with. And yourself and myself as coaches, if you can open up that conversation with your athletes or, you know, with women that you work with, that's powerful. So it's not like a curse, it's a superpower to know when your powerful day is and when your not so powerful day is. Now there could be 10 across your entire cycle, but understanding that there might be days that are not so powerful, and rather than being super hard on yourself and going, what is wrong with me? Like yesterday I felt so good and today I feel like I could sleep all day. There's nothing wrong with you, but it might just take note of that and see if it's the same in the next cycle. It's not that you need to spend the whole day in bed, but you could maybe approach that day a little bit differently. Go to bed a little earlier the night before, keep an eye on your nutrition, stay hydrated, maybe increase your macronutrients a little bit, and really support in and around those days that are maybe not so powerful. But then on a positive side, if you have a powerful day, which you might find you have more in the front end of your cycle, when the hormones are a bit lower and you've got like surges of estrogen, which is just such a beautiful hormone to work with. It's creative, you know, it's anabolic. It's just, it really is a superpower for women. Your libido is really high at this time, which is great. You're very flirty as a woman. Your hair's great, your skin's great. You're actually really glowing in this time, the phase 2. So it's a time to utilize as an athlete, push. We don't have enough data. We do not have enough data to phase-base the training. We just don't. But what we do know is estrogen is anabolic. So utilize it. I've got athletes, I'm like, do you feel good today? Double session, push the weights, go hard so that you can maybe pull back in the higher hormone. So I think it's just about understanding your unique hormone profile, tracking your cycle, starting to understand when your powerful days are and your not so powerful days are, and how can you create an environment in and around those days to really have success. But I think it's really important to make note and to tell everybody that as a woman, you can perform on any given day of your cycle. Any given day. And when I talk about perform here with you today and in general, I'm not talking just about in the gym or sports. I'm talking about as a woman, how you perform in the workspace, how you perform every day, and how you show up for yourself. It's the PMS symptoms that impact you in a negative way. So your headache, cramps, you know, like feel sick, or there's a whole lot of things.
Stomach is upset.
Yeah, exactly. You don't feel so good, fatigue, maybe didn't sleep so well. They're PMS symptoms. And that's what impacts you in a negative way. Because, for example, if we go training and I'm like, we're going to do a leg session, for example, and I'm sitting with you and you're like, come on, Alex. I'm like, and I've got a massive headache, right, the day before I get my period. Probably don't really feel like going for a 1 rep max, right?
No.
It doesn't mean that my body can't physically do it. It can do it. But because I've got a massive headache and I just feel like bloated and horrible, I might not hit that number that I probably hit before. So giving yourself a bit more grace on that and knowing that if I'm in training, then it's okay, you know, maybe, or move that training day to another day. Just allow yourself to move things around. But also then if you're performing and you've got a race on that day, mentally know that you've worked on it during training because you've been tracking, and 2, your body can do it. I think that's always good to know.
That is also, I think, to break it down, I will also blend in those 28 days of the cycle and what you're, like, just for the understanding of the community watching. Because, as you said, there's a big gap of knowledge, especially also in young women that are growing up, because it's something bad, but as we know, and if you're getting the right information, because there's a lot and people don't speak about it, and it's more a small part, or usually the big influencers, they don't speak too much about it. There are some that do it, not all of them, but also to understand means in the follicle phase, which is basically the first 2, week 1 and 2, is basically where you're pretty strong, especially also in ovulation. That's where your power, where you feel a bit more flirty, like you said. And basically the second phase, or week 3 and 4, is the luteal phase. And those are the phases where you need to be a bit more gentle and also a bit more understanding with yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's not that you need to pull back. And I think if you, like I said before, if you track your cycle and you notice that you are not, or you don't have as many powerful days in the luteal phase, like especially the late luteal phase, then give yourself permission to move your training or your week around. And I think this is where we're blocked at the moment. We want to work with our bodies, but we don't know how to bring it into the workspace. We don't know how to, you know, say you take classes and you go to a class and you're like, it's got X, Y, and Z on the board. And you're like, oh my God, like I'm in late luteal phase. It is not a powerful day today. How am I supposed to do that? I would love that women give themselves permission to go to the coach and say, listen, I'm in phase 4. It's not really a powerful day for me. I'm going to do strict rather than this. You know, if you're in like a functional class, I'm going to focus on technique rather than heavy. I hope that we get to that point. I know it's a long way away. So I think it's, in that case, it's like, okay, today's not a great day. Don't go to the gym and kill yourself and push against your body. Go tomorrow, because you'll probably find that tomorrow or the next day, you feel a lot better than you do today. So you'll get so much more out of that session if you go for a walk today or do some mobility or focus on something else. If that's your not so good day, really understand that and work with your body rather than just going, no, I can do this, I'll feel bad if I... No, training is not the be-all and end-all of how you're going to progress, right? Nutrition, we know nutrition, sleep, recovery, mindset plays such a massive role before training does. Training is just putting the body under stress. Right? So if we're like, okay, why am I going training? Why do I want to go and do this? Is it because I ate something that I don't want to eat? That's a whole nother ball game then. Then you're obviously moving for the wrong reasons. So in your higher hormone phase when you're not feeling good, but you know maybe doing a little bit of sport will make you feel a bit better, give yourself permission to be able to show up the way you want to show up in that class, and not allow a teacher to thrash you in that class or push you against yourself. Just be like, I'm good, I'm really focusing on technique today and I'm focusing on this. I hope we get there at some point. But again, like I said to you before, there's not enough data for us to say, pull back and do yoga in the late luteal phase. No, I told you before, your body is physically capable of doing anything on any given day every cycle. But if you are having a day that you do feel a bit flat, give yourself that permission to move it around a little bit and not work against it. Not that negative self-talk is something that we really need to work on. And I was there. I was the one who, that's how I really started to understand. I was like, how can this be? How can it be that I'm sitting here and I cannot clean this weight? Not as in clean, those of you that are listening, as in lift the bar. Whereas last week I did. It feels so heavy today. What's wrong with me? And all this this negative talk started to happen. And it wasn't until I started to really dive into this rabbit hole and this really became what I do and specialize in, that I was like, oh my God, that was me. Now I know this day will pass. Take the weight off and just do what you can today and really focus on technique. And that's been a game changer for me.
That is also another really interesting and powerful message. And I think, and I hope that a lot of girls will see this, and also coaches, because I also have the feeling that, and I'm not trying to bash on my male partners, colleagues, but I also have the feeling that a lot of men are not interested in this, that it's not that important. Of course, there are a lot of amazing coaches, but if you compare both and put it on a scale, I think there are more coaches that are not educated on this topic, and only a minority is educated on this. So I think that plays a really important part, but also parts of your coaching and I think that's also something that you need to connect with this, because you also teach and speak a lot about this, is the mindset. And I think the mindset is I think that is the biggest part of when you start your journey. Also, why are you starting? What is your deeper meaning in, I just want to lose XY kilos to look good at the beach? Well, that is something, it's similar to the stock market. The motivation will be there, but when things are not going well, you have to rely on your mind, and that's the only thing that you really have control on. And you also teach that to your coaches. And how do you teach that to your
I love that. I know that you and I both, that plays a big role in both of our coaching, so I love that. Mindset plays a massive role. I think going back to what you just said before I move on, when you said, why women come to me in the first place. And it's the surface stuff straight away, right? It's that, the foundation of what lifting women in, training and nutrition, lifestyle. We all know how to eat. We all know how to move. I don't take beginners anyway, so it's like, why are you here? And I want to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? Yeah, because I can't do it on my own. I said, okay, so when was the moment that you felt that you wanted to lose weight? And it just goes quiet. And it's finding out what their values are and why. Like you said, motivation comes after movement, right? So we need to, what is it? What's going to keep us there? And I think the more you keep asking why, when was it, why, is so beautiful to get to the core. And there was this one experience that I had, and I just kept asking why? Why do you want to lose weight? What is it? And when was it? And she was like, I want to have sex with the lights on. And I was like, girl, confidence, that's what it is.
It's deep.
That's so, and I just had goosebumps all over me. And I was like, that's it. I was like, you got it. You will reach your goal because now it's so clear. And then I work with them on getting very, very clear on their future self. So to come into Lifting Women, it's a 6-month commitment. So you join and you become very clear, crystal clear on who she is in 6 months. What is she wearing? Where does she live? What's her job? How much money do you make? How do you feel? like in training gear? Who are you hanging out with? What does your day look like? Like really breaking it down and getting them to get very clear on it. That's the first step. The second step is every Monday night we have a community call, and it's more mental performance. A lot of guided visualization, so a lot of the time I'll do a visualization first. And then they have 3 things that they have to do inside Lifting Women, which is, one is free writing. Free writing is 5 minutes. I will give them a prompt, which is, what do you really want, for example, which is a great one. So anyone who's listening, if you wanted to try it, try what do I really want. You put your timer on, and the rule is that you cannot stop writing. So it's not a journal. It's really like a brain dump. So you can't stop writing, and if you feel resistance or you feel any kind of like you want to correct something, you can write, what I really meant to say is, and maybe you write that 10 times. But you keep in the flow. And I'll change the topic sometimes. What are my limiting beliefs around reaching my goal? You can really use any prompt you want. So free writing is one of the mental performance parts inside Lifting Women. The second one is pre and post workout journal. Just to really get you present where you are, where your feet are. So it's like location, workout focus. We do a lot with our 3 keys, which are 3 words that really have some sort of image in your head and visualization. And you can use whatever you want to have. And then you pick a word, maybe like at the moment I have a word that stays with me for 1 or 2 months maybe. Maybe you have it just for the workout, but that's going to be like your focal word. And you can use that during the training. And then after the training, and again you have post-workout journal. It takes 2 minutes. It's nothing at all, but it's very, very powerful. And it's what you write down, what are 3 things you're grateful for, and then what did I do well, what can I do better, and how am I going to do that? And that's your post-workout. So that's the kind of basic foundation of mental performance. If you want to go a little bit deeper into it, then you can use the guided visualizations that I pop into the group. And a lot of the time, women will use that a little bit at the beginning and then kind of go off. But then they realize, okay, I felt really good when I was doing that. I had so much clarity of why I was doing what I'm doing. Staying on path, not comparing. And the moment that they start to feel that comparison come in, like, oh my God, everybody else is doing so much better than me. I think with women, quite common. And what I do there is then I'll do a mental performance coaching with them, and I'm like, okay, the moment you start to compare is when you are, 1, not implementing on yourself, or 2, not clear on where you're going. And we both know that, but I think anybody else is like, why all of a sudden am I noticing what everyone else is doing? And it's because you've forgotten where you want to go, or maybe you just need to reset and refocus. So then we have like a goals reset workshop. They just jump back into that, and you can do that every 2 weeks. But the mind is just so strong. We know the subconscious and the conscious, so I talk a lot with them about that, understanding why these voices happen. And they're not bad, they're just your subconscious. But how do we get the conscious mind to join forces with the subconscious? So I think it's about giving them the right tools and not just focusing on fitness and nutrition, because it's not just about that, you know? It is like, it's so much bigger than that. And I think that's where the power lies, because then you can enjoy your training. Then you can enjoy the foods that you choose to eat. Then you can see, you know, the results from all the work that you're putting in. But unless your mind is being worked on, and it's a skill.
He was talking about that. He was talking about that, I think, yesterday, about inner communication, body and mind. I remember you spoke about that, how important that is, and also to be gentle. And like you said, it's also from a nice book, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. That's a really powerful book. Yeah. And he says, I am wealthy, or I am healthy. And it's also, I am that sexy lady that wears the dress, and I am having intercourse with my partner with the lights on. So
that affirmation,
really speaking this, and also having maybe a piece of paper on the fridge and reading it out every night. Be alone in your room, but speak it out. And really, you have to push your mind towards this, because you also know when you feel kind of like, you know, down or a bit, let's say you're kind of getting sick, and then if you say, oh, I'm gonna get sick. Well, what's going to happen most of the times? You're going to get sick. And that is really like the mind works extreme. And they had the same test on, I think they did a study. There were people that had, exactly, there were people, 3 of them needed a real knee operation. And 3 of them, they got like an exam and told them there was something wrong with their knee, even though there was nothing wrong.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then what they did, they basically made a fake cut and they tattooed that, but you could remove it. They tattooed that on their knee, and they also, after surgery, they also said, I feel pain. Something is weird in my knee. But there was nothing. There was no operation. And it was the mind. And they saw that there was something, and in their mind there was like, yeah, I feel something in my, my leg, even though there was nothing.
It's crazy.
And I think this is something that doesn't get too much attention, and I think that's also the main focus where we have to shift, and also into coaching, because I see this as well. People, and that's actually one of the next questions is, and it's more like a fun question. What was the weirdest excuse that you ever heard?
The weirdest excuse, like to stop training or to be, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what the weirdest excuse was, but when I did a mental performance coaching with a group of athletes, and I made them do 400 repeats on the track, on the running track. But I needed them to do it because I needed them to be in a state where the subconscious became loud, right? For them to be able to understand the next steps. So I think it was on like lap 7 or something. And I said, tell me what was in your mind and what you were thinking at 300 meters. And it was hilarious. These professional athletes, I wanted to pretend that I'd hurt my ankle and like roll onto the grass because of the pain. It was so intense. Someone else said that they were also like all of these weird injuries, and I'll just say this, and like creating these scenarios in their head. We were laughing so hard. Because and I was like, but why did you keep going? And a lot of us already know, it's like what the 3 keys were, like, come on, just finish strong. Everyone else is doing it. You can do it. Finish strong. You're almost there. That's your conscious mind kicking in. But the subconscious, the excuses, I think the funniest things are like, okay, if I just like, and this is in split seconds. If I just like now quickly roll onto the grass and pretend like I've hurt my ankle and those, I think, I don't have an excuse for someone not really coming to training, but I think those ones really got me. That was so funny. It was so good. But I wanted to jump back to what you said before, because I think that's really important when you were talking about the I am, is I do affirmation work in the morning. So I'll do like a breath work where you breathe in for 6, hold for 2, say your word for the day or the word for the month. And then as you exhale for 8, then you say your affirmation and you visualize and affirm. And it's all I am. Like you really start to create what is your life affirmation, and just saying it over and over and over again. I think we should all have one. And a lot of us are quite scared to say, I am. It's like, I want this. And it is all of the wants that you want to have. It is in line with your values, your core values. It is in line with your future self. But to actually turn it around and affirm it that you already have it, you are already living in that, takes a lot of work. And I do it every morning, and I'll say it, sometimes I say it like 10 times, sometimes 5 times, but I also have it written down. And I think it's a really powerful thing to have, to allow yourself, like, I am enough, or I am a mum worth modelling, or I am a coach that empowers women, whatever that is. And to really express that to yourself daily is so important. It's so powerful. Yeah.
Okay. Here's also a funny one. If you could describe the menstrual cycles at a party, which phases would be who, and who would be basically the life of the party in that party? How would that be?
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay. Okay, phase 1.
For example, there's like life of the party, then is there who's only there for the snacks, and then also who's planning on leaving early.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, because I had in my head Wonder Woman is phase 2.
Okay.
Okay, phase 1 is super curious, ends up dancing all night long, but like not sure at the beginning, bit unsure, bit of a closet introvert at the beginning, but then ends up dancing and like is the last to leave. Phase 2 is the life of the party, best friend of the DJ. Phase 3 is drinking water, dances a little bit, but goes home without saying anything. A bit of a Cinderella exit. And phase 4 said she was coming, but she never shows.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of like a funny explanation, and I think probably most women can resonate, because also it's a different experience for every woman. And like you said, it's always days that come, give to.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really important. But yeah, I think that could be a funny part. It would be funny as if you would have it as a kind of like a comic.
Absolutely.
It would be super funny.
But I think you work that out. The power of tracking your cycle really allows you to go, okay, when am I Wonder Woman? When am I the closet introvert? You can look at it as seasons. You can go, when am I summer? When am I spring? When am I winter? When am I autumn? And, you know, what days are they? I mean, how amazing is that? Knowing, I did a great talk yesterday on understanding you and working with your physiology in the workspace. And knowing that estrogen is such a creative hormone, when you are aware of that and you are at, like, I am my most creative in phase 2. It's where all my ideas happen. So I create an environment for me to be creative in phase 2. I give myself a lot of white space so that I can be creative. I love to film content. I'm a lot more on social media. So if you were to follow me on, like really follow and track me on social media, I go extremely quiet at one point. I'm gone. You might see reposts of the community, but I'm not talking a lot because I don't plan things like this. And I just kind of like naturally step back. And then when it's like phase 1, phase 2, I'm like every day there's like 5 to 10 of me talking, or like I'm angry about this or I'm passionate about this. And that's really, to observe that on myself and learn from that is just so great. And I can then give that over, especially to leaders, CEOs and women who are running big companies, and even to men who are working with powerful women, to be able to say, okay, that's when I'm going to brainstorm on that project, because that's when I'm my most creative. That's when I'm probably going to do home office, because I don't really enjoy being around a lot of people here. So really giving yourself permission to create this incredible cycle of 28 days, because men is 24 hours, right? You know, we are 28 days. So own it, really own it. And just know when to push, when to pull back, so that you can excel in what you're doing.
Going on to a bit deeper questions. Also, you've built a community over the time. Also, you started off in one-on-one coaching. What were challenges you faced building that community during that time, from jumping from one-on-one to building a community and also reaching out and reaching to a broader community and audience? What were like the challenges you were facing?
I mean, I loved one-on-one because connection is one of my biggest values, and I could see the impact that I was having, so that was really powerful. When it came to taking everything online, which was quite difficult for me to make the decision, but it was Corona, and you know, it was during the pandemic that really made me make the decision. I was like, oof, how is this going to happen? The only time I see them is in the first call that I was having, and that I do on FaceTime, so that we can see each other. And does it resonate? Am I the right coach for you? Because I'm not the right coach for everyone, and I want success as much as they do. And that was kind of the only way that I could kind of see if we were a fit. And at the beginning, it wasn't so much about the community, but I did struggle with building it, because I was kind of just taking anybody and realizing quite fast, I was like, oh, I am not the right coach for you.
No.
And, but that's been a beautiful, that's probably my number one learning, was like, I am not the right coach for everyone.
Oh, no.
And it is okay to know that. And I think
really
it's really
important.
powerful. And I express that always at the beginning. I'm not the right coach for everybody. I want success as much as you do. And really help kind of signposting if I feel that there's another coach would be better for them. And now that I do have the community, it's even more important of who I let in, because this community is powerful.
I see.
You know, this vampire underneath me or sitting next to me is on another level. So when somebody comes in, as welcoming as it is, it can also be quite threatening. It can be very intimidating, and you can question yourself. So if you're not really sure of where you are, I'm right next to them, so I guide them, of course, the whole way, and then I let them go. But I think my biggest challenge was really going online and just accepting that it's remote. But now I've built workshops and retreats where I can have that connection because that is so important for me. I've also found building a team to be very challenging. Wow. I mean, as excited as I was, and it was just really on my vision board to build a strong team to be able to expand
and grow.
Because when the business is only on you and reliant on you,
you will burn out as well.
And what if something happens to me for a couple of days? What happens?
Let's hope not.
Or if I'm sick or I've got a day off, I'm just like swamped. So that's been a massive business learning for me, and I'm quite happy that I was open enough to reach out and get a mentor and invest in myself to be able to work on my weaknesses. But I think anyone struggles with building a team, and then because the community is so strong, it's like, okay, how do I bring this team member in here? They're not me, but they're great at what they do, and then handing people over to them. That's really, I would say that's been my biggest challenge.
Okay, understand. After also helping so many women with their lives and mindset, what was the most rewarding thing that you got from the journey, and what was some unexpected learning that you could take from that?
I see PRs on a daily basis, which is always super exciting. But when somebody writes to me and says maybe that they got their period back, that's a big one for me, just because I know the weight that is, and I know from where they've come from to be in that position in the first place, because I've been there too. So to have gone through either trauma, eating disorder, whatever it is, to now call me and say, I just got my period. That one I think is beyond rewarding. And then to be able to maintain it, that I played a role in that, to create a healthy woman, for her to embrace something that we used to kind of like get excited that it wasn't there. And the other thing is when somebody writes to me and says how much I've changed their life, how they show up, how they look at themselves, how they talk to themselves, how they prioritize their health. And I'm not just talking about training and nutrition here, as you know. I'm talking about they know what time they go to sleep at night. They know how much protein they need to eat if they want to achieve a particular goal. They move in the gym because they want to be stronger with the byproduct of how they look. After 3 or 4 weeks working with me, it's no longer I want to lose weight. God, I feel good. Or, oh my God, I did my first pull-up. That is why I do what I do. And that is the most rewarding thing ever.
That's beautiful. I mean, I get the same when it comes to coaching. I also had a client, we lost 30 kilos in that time, and for him, and that was really emotional for me, is that he was able to play with his little daughter again. And you know those jumping castles that are filled with air? He wasn't allowed to go on there. Before he was not allowed to go on there, and he said, I had so much fun, but it was also so emotional for me, because it was like, I knew my weight. I'm like, I'm allowed. I wasn't allowed. And he also had his first debut in handball, and he was nominated for the Bundesliga team, because now he was that fit and athletic again. That when he was playing, even the coach and the higher coach from the pro team came to him and said, "Hey man, I really like how you move. What happened to you? You look so different." And he told me this, and he was super excited. And he said, like, I would have never thought that I would have made this. For me, it's like a career explosion, because I never reached that. I could not, like, if you told me this 1 year ago, I would have laughed and said, me there? Never. I think also working as a coach, people don't know. I think that's the only job where you get so much love. I don't know, it's the community you build, the people you work with. I don't know, it's difficult to describe. It's hard to find word for it.
I agree.
It's a feeling.
It's like, right, we'll be sitting there and I'll be on my computer and a message will come in. God, and I'm like crying. You know, and I'm like, God, I would love to shout this to the world. Because she showed up consistently, or she did it, but how do you say this? It's just, you just can't. Sometimes I take photos or little videos and I keep them, and I'm like, God, I Like, I just wish I could shout this to the world, because I know that her story would impact one person, which is our goal always, right? But yeah, I know, there's no words. It's a feeling thing. And I said, it's just so rewarding, because sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? Is this really what I want to do? Is this what am I doing? And then all of a sudden a message comes in and goes,
this is why it's like this. Hold up, you're at the right place. But I needed to take you through this phase so you know. Yeah, no, but yeah, that's definitely beautiful to know, and also beautiful to share. Also for women that are coming and also want to go into coaching, because you also have a lot of girls looking up to you, especially when you was giving the training in John Reed. You know, the guys are like, yeah, Alex, super cool, like power, you know, like, and also we also have to highlight this, being in shape. That is also something that is not, you don't see that often. If you look at a majority of women or men and their parents, they're not in the shape. For example, you are great in shape, you know, and that's something. For example, I think also you are there for your coaches, but you are also walking the walk, and I think this is something that is missing. People that try to say, okay, you need to do this and this, but they're not doing it themselves.
Oh my God.
And that is terrible in coaching, because I see this, and I don't speak about people, but that's just what I could observe. And I say, for example, I need to stay in shape because my clients, they look up to me. I have to lead. I have to lead the pack. I have to lead the whole community. So they see, okay, this is my coach. Whenever someone says, this is my coach, they're like, okay, damn, Alex, she's in shape, you know? Like, you see the win, oh, damn, or Chris, for example, the guy's in shape. That is what I look up to. And this is what I also say, this is also a job you cannot fake.
Totally.
You cannot fake, because it shows. It shows.
But it's saturated. This industry is absolutely saturated. And I think we do find each other, the ones that are real, the ones that stay the long, you know, like I think I was one of the first female PTs in Berlin, in McFit. Everyone else, they're all the males. And I'm still here. And I have seen so many come and go. And I love it. I love that, you know, people are interested in coming in, but they don't live the lifestyle.
No.
What they tell people to do and what they tell, like, oh my God, they are depressed, they're not eating enough, they're in a low energy availability, they don't show up to training all the time. And I think prioritizing yourself is so important. I'm not perfect. There are times where it's normally my nutrition. The last couple of days, I really noticed, I was like, okay, what's going on? Lunch is always like the weakest point for me. I was like, I actually went and ordered good fitness meals now, and I'm always going to have at least 10 in the freezer. Because Wednesday, for example, I'll do a meal prep on Sunday, and Wednesdays always, I never have anything. You know, and I'm like, how many times are you going to do this? So I was like, okay, great, how can I be prepared next time that I'm on point? But if I speak to another coach, which I've started to reach out to a couple of other coaches who need a bit more kind of mentorship, and they're so overwhelmed, so overworked, they're tired, and the first thing I ask them is, how's your sleep and how's your nutrition? 1 to 5, 5 being amazing, 1 being really bad. Honestly, it's a 2 or a 3. I was like, how are you supposed to be there for anyone else if you're not showing up for yourself? This is, in the fitness industry, this is something that I think we really need to assess and look at as ourselves. Look in the mirror, go, what's important for you? And you can't be preaching that to somebody else. You're going to slip up, and that's okay, but then what are you going to do about it? It's like, what are you doing well? What do you need to do better? And how are you going to do it?
Yeah, I like to separate this in perfection and excellence. The difference is just, with excellence, you analyze what didn't go well, and then you do it better. And perfection is like you getting stuck.
Exactly.
You know? And that's where I think also, you know, it goes for your clients, it goes for yourself, and it also goes back to what we had. And I think it closes the circle here. It's always also the communication that you have with yourself, because I always say 50% of your energy comes from the communication that you have within yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is so powerful. We should share more, but I think we have some things that we can do in the future. And I'm always pretty excited about the future, because there's so much more you can learn and so much you can connect. This is also the reason why I started this podcast, because I want to connect with people and authentic people. That's really important. But also the chance, and I think this is a super valuable episode in itself for women to watch this, to listen, to hear this, and to really internalize that. I think that's really important. Yes, so there's one more question I have for you, Alex. What is one myth about women that drives you crazy in the fitness industry when you hear it? Oh my gosh.
There's not just one. We need to talk about a few here. Creatine, I think I have to highlight, right? Creatine, don't want to take creatine because I don't want to get full of water and big and muscly. Am I full of water and big and muscly? You better say I'm big and muscly, but no, right? Creatine is seriously one of the greatest supplements, and especially for women, because as we move into high hormone, we have this surge of progesterone. And progesterone is a catabolic hormone, right? So it's breaking tissue down. We don't get enough creatine from animal meats, right? So you need, and if you're vegan, even more so, that you need to have a supplementation of creatine. It's going to support recovery, it's going to support brain function, gut health, and also, muscle synthesis. It is such an important supplement for women to have. But the problem is when we type it into Google, all the marketing comes up of, men on like flexing and so forth. And just to remind yourself that it is just a marketing tool. It is just marketing, because bodybuilding and creatine is amazing for men, but it's even better for women.
Oh yeah.
So don't think that it is going to make you big and muscly, and it's going to support that if you want that, but you'll get that from, of course, food and so forth. But the myth of you getting all big and bulky because of, and then to go on top of the big and bulky side of things, I do not want to hear again from somebody who says, oh no, I don't need to lift too much weights because I put on muscle really fast. Oh my goodness. I would like that recipe or that gene that you have.
You was on a bodybuilding show and also great pictures, was great shape. And you know how difficult it was. Your coach was like, yeah, the training is like
Eat
this and
more.
this. Eat more. And you're like, I'm already doing this. And you're sitting there at 11 something. And that's terrible time. And you're trying to eat cold fish. You're trying to eat like, I need to go to bed. Don't stress too much. You need to get your sleep in. Then digestion, you're like, oh, Jesus, and then all the protein.
That's so fun. No, really. So women, I know you think that you put on muscle fast, but you don't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not how it works. And you might feel the pump, which is what we all love, right? That's called the pump, and it also goes down. But if you're not going to change any of your nutrition at all, and you're only going to lift weights, then sure, your clothes are going to feel tight. But it's not the lifting weight part. It's the nutrition part. And the importance of resistance training for women is number one.
Yeah.
So don't pull back from that. I'd rather you pull back from your nutrition and clean that up a little bit, rather than pull back from the resistance training because you think that you put muscle on too fast.
Yeah.
It's better for your bone health than anything else.
Oh yeah. Okay, great, Alex. Now, coming to the end of the podcast, the former guest left a question for you.
Oh, okay. I love that.
And the question is, what was one really beautiful day or the most special day to you, and what made that day so special for you?
This year, every year we have gone to the beach for summer holidays because that's just where I'm from and it's what I love. And this year my son said to me, can we go to the mountains? I don't hike. I don't do mountains. So I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be like a fish out of water. But yeah, let's go. And there was one hike that we did. I went off social media. He was walking in front of me. I did pull my phone out because I was like, oh my God, this is such a great video. And I stopped in that moment and I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, be present.
What are you doing? They don't have to know. You don't have to do this. Put my phone away. And I looked up and my kid was walking in front of me and he just stopped, turned around and looked at me and just kind of like nodded. And I can't pinpoint that moment, but that week, we mountain biked together, we hiked, we laughed, we swam in lakes in the middle of the mountains. And I connected with my teenager and I got to know my teenager on a level that I never thought possible. And I hold this week so close to my heart because with the amount of distraction that we have today, also for him, everything is phone, everything is friends. It's normal for kids to kind of go away from their parents a little bit. And the two of us had no phones, no connection other than each other.
Just being present.
And it was magic. it was magic. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn to leave a question for the next guest.
Oh, okay.
It can be, again, and pick up the pen, it can be crazy, it can be whatever you imagine.
If I take your work away from you, who are you?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's intense.
Alex, I
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
Oh, I loved being on here with you. I loved chatting with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they want to go deeper on topics in regards to, you know, understand their cycle, I think the biggest takeaways that they can take from this
Yeah.
is track your cycle
Mm-hmm.
consistently and take note of when your powerful days are and your not so powerful days are. If you skip your period more than 2 times, it's a red flag because it's your superpower.
Ladies, listen close. Really important. Get your notes out, write it down.
Yeah.
And you can find us or Alex on Instagram, also YouTube, right?
No, well, I do have a YouTube channel, but it's not very active.
Okay,
Yeah,
we stick
Alex
to Instagram. Alex Hipwell, check her out. I will tag her somewhere down there. And thanks for watching. See you next time.